Yeah, I pushed go live. It's like, oh, cool, we'll get the countdown part of it, and it finally kicked on with 3 seconds to go.
I saw it went with 3 seconds. I was busy raising the roof.
Dude, the people, that was such a building action suspense. A lot of suspense built in that countdown. Adam, happy Sunday. What's going on?
Not too much. I'm just enjoying the Memorial Day weekend. It's really official.
Great. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, it showed up with 6 seconds. So it wasn't 3 like it appeared on mine.
How about you?
What's going on? I saw you. That was kind of cool. We did that. That was fun. Celebrated a couple of birthdays.
Oh, that's right. Yep.
And then we got look, Kathy's up in a crib already. Hey, Kathy. Oh, cool. Look at this new little bubble thing I did. That's cool. I don't know how we did that, but
nice feature.
Yep. Adam, so we have a plan to, if you read our ticker, we have a plan to talk about something today. Do you know what that is?
Who can do it?
You're going to have to read through it.
What can you buy with it?
We'll learn a little.
We're going to talk a little bit about seller financing. Seller financing.
Yep.
Financing sellers who take on the role of both seller and also bank.
Mm-hmm. That sometimes happens.
Yep.
It's a unique tool that reduces your own capital obligation to purchase something, whether it be a real estate asset. Can be on the commercial side or the residential side. It can be a primary residence. This doesn't need to be just for purchasing investment properties. This could be where you can raise your family. And today we'll talk about the real estate side, but this can also be used for other things too. Pretty much anything that you can buy from a seller, you could use seller financing, depending, of course, if the seller would go for it. So.
Yes. So maybe some business folks are out there thinking about selling, and this is one way of selling to a stranger or to maybe a key personnel or manager, employee who's interested.
We once owned a business, a pizza shop, a amazing pizza shop.
Thriving.
And we seller finance that back to an employee. Remember that, Adam?
I recall that exact scenario.
He is a lot better pizza shop owner.
Yeah, right.
He's a lot better pizza shop. So it was easy for him, and it was easy for us. So that was a good example. I don't remember any of the terms that we used, but we could talk about those someday too.
Perhaps.
The other half,
let's dive right in, though.
Other half of the Danisic household.
How about that?
So they complete the viewership for today. So let's get rolling. I think one thing that would help with people is understanding what these things look like. And Adam, should we bring up a note?
Yes, let's do it. Let's do it. Joe, can you pull it up?
Wait for our production crew. Okay, he says he's got it. He's got it. He's going to add it to the stream, and he has added it to the stream.
Yeah, so here's a simple one. And we'll just basically run through a few of the elements on a simple note. It can be obviously more complicated and have some additional legalese that may or may not play any role. But here's some basic elements of a promissory note, sometimes called a mortgage note.
Yep. So all these are, they're not very creative. Whoever came up with promissory maybe 400 years ago, it's a promise to pay under certain terms that are found in one of these promissory notes. So we are going to rip through some of these highlighted sections because they're the most important part of the promissory note. So I think we should do that.
Yeah. So it's a contract, like Paul said, binding the maker. That's the person making the note. That's the person promising to pay to, and in this case, Mr. Bro.
Yep. Dude Bro is our guy who is purchasing real estate and is promising to repay under the terms of this mortgage note. So here, that's him. Usually you're buying with an LLC, but obviously this maker LLC could just be Dude Bro himself. So in this case, the maker LLC is a limited liability company with an address here. And then we're going to talk about this section, these important words individually and as guarantor for the maker of the note, because that'll play an important part later.
Yes. Good. And you put the addresses in there, by the way. Why is that? So you have a contact for the other party if things go sideways and eventually you have to show up to court and they say, well, did you guys try to work this out? How'd you reach them? Well, there it is in the original paperwork.
It is. I contact them at 123 Nunya Business. Oh, and now I'm realizing that's not a real address. Burn. You got burned. So, and moving down that same paragraph, we're talking about the lender LLC. This could obviously be an individual as well, but in this case, it's a limited liability company that is giving the money to the maker, and that lender is identified as a payee. They're the person receiving that repayment.
Yep. Payors pay, payees receive pay. So we got an agreement between Maker LLC, Lender LLC, and Dude Bro jumping in there as a guarantor. This one's concerning some real estate. So we have a Queen Avenue property. They're going to, number 3 is an important one, the maturity date. Folks often, you hear a lot about balloon payments when all the principal comes due. In this case, that's July 9th, 2022, because they're making payments starting June 9th, 2021 in paragraph 3.
Right.
So we got balloon payment, we got the address or the property that this concerns. And then we go down to number 3, and it's talking about the terms of those payments.
Sure. So this overall purchase is $140,000. The maker and the payee have agreed that only 10% down will start this repayment process. So in this case, it's $14,000. And Adam mentioned the balloon payment. So this one's a little bit different than maybe a note and mortgage that you're used to for purchasing your own property, where it's a 30-year term. It's amortized over that 30 years. That means that when you combine the principal and interest payments every month, at 360 months, it'll be down to zero. Well, in this case, under this note, it's an interest only. So the maker is never actually paying down any of the principal amount. In this case, the $126,000, that's the principal amount still due. Dude Bro is actually not paying anything towards that. He's only paying on the 12% interest for that 12-month term. And then in the same paragraph, it says that 12% monthly payment actually costs $1,260. And like I said before, that's only towards the interest payment.
Yep. So principal is remaining the same throughout that year of payments. 126 is due at balloon July 9th, 2022. Maker LLC and its guarantor, Mr. Bro, are making those interest only payments, but that allows them, that does allow the Mr. Bro or the LLC to get some other financing arranged or explore options during that year and make these interest only payments, perhaps doing a flip and then selling the thing.
That's right. Moving through 3. So 3 is an important bulk of the promissory note, just how the repayment terms are set. When Mr. Bro has to make these payments, what happens if he does not make the payments? In this case, they've negotiated that if he misses the payment on the 14th day of the month, that means 5 days after they're due, there'll be a late charge of 1% of that payment amount. So in this case, it's pretty minimal. If it's $1,260, what is that, Adam? That's $12.60.
$12.60 late.
Yeah. So very fair lender under this scenario.
Yep. But sometimes that's 5%, but yeah. There you go.
1%. I mean, I guess think about it on your own real estate. That's probably pretty accurate to a bank loan on a 1% payment penalty. Oh, another important piece on this is that there shall be no prepayment penalty if you pay it off before the balloon. So that's a important piece to discuss with your lender, because some lenders may want, almost all of that 12% interest payment to get their money back, because that's the best way to make money is to be able to, someone to be able to owe you money for a longer period of time. But in this case, if you paid lender back in 2 months, that lender is only going to make 2% on that $126,000. So he won't make that much money from Mr. Bro.
Right. So there might we don't have in here, but one other option might be to have points. In other words, just a couple of percent points that get charged no matter what. Those get charged up front or whenever that's collected. But there's just a flat interest, not interest rate, but percentage that might be paid, so that lender makes some money regardless of that prepayment. So if there's no prepayment penalty, there might be points just to address that, or vice versa. And then number 4 is about default. So what happens? What counts as maker not holding up at maker's end of the deal? Obviously, if they don't pay. The second bullet there, B, is referencing a mortgage that usually there would be a mortgage that's associated with a promissory note. Note and mortgage is obviously, you hear that phrase together. They come kind of in pairs. We aren't looking at one of those right now, but if there's a mortgage, there's going to be other terms in there. One of those terms could be something like, if it's dealing with real estate, the person's taking over a property, they have to have insurance on it. And if they don't have insurance on it, that's a default. Or don't pay the taxes when due. That would be a default. So there might be a mortgage that has more detailed default triggers.
Yeah, and this A bullet is a little odd, but this is the case if you don't actually make the principal payoff at the balloon, then you're in default. Then they foreclose and take care of that. C, Adam just mentioned. B, that is, look to the mortgage that's actually going to be recorded against the property. That'll have maybe some more details about what a default is. And then C is if you try to transfer or sell the property, that can be a default. Now you can sell it. Under this scenario, the lender won't care because there's no prepayment penalty. But sometimes if you try to sell it, then there's a new owner in the property, and that can mess up the foreclosure down the road. It makes it a little more messy. It doesn't really affect it that much, but it will. So that can trigger for a lender. This can also happen if you bought it in your personal name, then try to transfer it to another LLC. That can be a triggering event. So you want to make sure you're careful on what you're doing with all that. There's 5 is another mention of what we talked about before, is that there's no prepayment penalty on this note. So you can pay it back early and the lender doesn't care. He or she just wants your money back.
Yep. And then if you're a maker, if you're a person signing this sort of thing, this is the most important stuff. So pay attention to this one. If you're guaranteeing the payment as an individual, you want to know whether you're guaranteeing it, and also whether there's cognovit language. So what's that, Paul?
Cognovit language is a fast forward way of skipping the entire litigation process and getting a judgment for what you've already agreed to, essentially. So in this case, borrower being Mr. Dude Bro, he is, by agreeing to this section, this cognovit judgment section, he's saying, hey, look, I'm guaranteeing that I repay this $126,000 to you. If I don't, you can skip the whole 6 to 18 month litigation process and have a judgment against
4 years, multiple years.
4 years, many years. Yeah, right. But you can skip that whole process by, we don't need to get into this today, but it's essentially, this is a judgment already pre-signed by both borrower and lender, and an attorney can actually file the cognovit judgment in the county courthouse, and you can get that judgment so it's enforceable, within a few days of the event taking place. So in this case, if you are the maker, if you're Dude Bro's out there everywhere, be careful what you're signing and whether your guarantee includes this. You can personally guarantee stuff and not have this language, but any good lender, especially in real estate, is usually asking for this sort of thing.
Yep. So do you guarantee it individually? That's common, and that's more risky because then you can individually be sued, but it has to go through a lawsuit in order to get that judgment. Cognovit language skips all the rights you have as a defendant in a court of law and skips all that timeline. Cognovit language just allows a lawyer to say, yep, they're in default. And the court says, okay, there's the cognovit language. They agreed to get to have you file the judgment without any sort of court hearing or defense, and all that fun stuff that comes with it.
Yeah. So, and you can see about 2/3 of the way down, it says that you're confessing judgment. That means all you need is an attorney, whether that attorney has already represented the lender in the past or not. All you need is an attorney to go to the courthouse and say, yeah, this borrower has defaulted on its obligations. And then the the court will obligate a judgment against you. So it's, obviously pretty dangerous stuff if you, don't, one, trust your lender to actually be a fair lender, and two, if you think you may not be able to support the debt, because you're going to have a judgment for that full amount very quickly. So that stinks. So going down, and then we're pretty much
to follow.
Yeah, we're pretty much to the finish line here, and this is a section. Courts want to make sure that borrowers understand what they're signing. Again, most borrowers still probably aren't even reading this stuff, but this section is kind of a pump the brakes situation, being like, hey, make sure you understand that by signing this, you give up your right to a notice and a trial date in a court trial. So if you default, this section in bold capital letters is saying that you're going to have a judgment against you without much work at all from the lender.
Yep. And even if you think the lender did something wrong, and they still are getting their judgment, and if you want to bring a case against them yourself, that's down the road. But So
here's the signature section.
There you go. So signing for the LLC, and then you're signing for yourself individually and as guarantor, Mr. Bro.
Right. Yeah, Mr. Bro's
cool.
Usually the single member of this LLC, and also the individual that's guaranteeing the repayment. So
signing in those two capacities is what you got there. All right, man. Great promissory.
Super good.
2805 Queen.
An important thing too to consider, not really that significant, but a lot of these notes you do need to notarize a mortgage, but not the note. But if you're going to enforce the note, courts really like the original note. So they don't have to be wedding signature, but I think that's it'll be a little stronger. Practice. Yeah, it'll be a little stronger evidence if you're having to go after somebody for the repayment.
Yes, all right, and happy Memorial Day.
Happy Memorial Day. We're crushing your spirits with a promissory note. Yeah, eat a hot dog, Adam.
I probably will.
Did you see this little thing? I can ask questions through YouTube, so that's kind of cool. I didn't know that until today.
Oh, I see the little red.
See, can you read that or not?
Well, it shows up on to me it's on StreamYard, and it just says have a question, and then you did it in our comments on StreamYard.
So here's another way of asking. Here's a bigger block.
I guess we'll find out.
Here's a default, a little bigger. That's probably easier to read, huh?
Cool.
Do you have a question, Adam?
Do you have anything else to add? Does anyone else have any questions? Those are my questions.
I mean, I guess we can circle back that what we did there was a note and mortgage for a piece of real estate. You could essentially replace just a few of the items in that promissory note and set up some sort of repayment plan for the purchase of a business or a car or whatever. And that leads us into next week's hot topic of securitization. And what in the heck does that mean?
We'll find out. Stay tuned.
We're going to have to do some research.
same time.
Same question
probably
here.
Not the same time or day, but we'll find out. That's part of the fun. Let's do that. Right. So that's good. Yeah. I mean, the framework's essentially the same though. You're promising to repay the other party, and you lay out the terms on that. And it's a good way to gives you options and flexibility for buyers and sellers. So,
right, and you have to use your own money. Boom. All right, buddy, let's wrap it. Let's call it a day. Actually, I gotta go. I'm gonna go cook some hot dogs. So,
enjoy.
Okay.
Ketchup, mustard, pickles.
The works. I like the relish and the mustard.
Nice.
What about you?
If you're a hot dog, it's a good one. Will Ferrell. Google it as Harry Carey. That's what you should do this Memorial Day weekend.
This is really good stuff.
Yep.
This is really good. All right, buddy. I'll talk to you later.
Later.